Howdy, folks. I'm Drew Taylor. I'm here with my fifth episode of the Daily Drew, coming to you from my favorite spot on the planet. I'm sitting here in Kerrville, Texas, and I'm overlooking the town right here in the valley, and I've got the green belt behind me and the hills up behind me. I just love this place. Folks, today, what we're talking about, my goal in doing this is to share with folks who either have experience and I have a different angle or have never been in business and are going to be dealing with some things. And I'm just going to try to share the good, the bad, and the ugly about my life because I have done a lot of things. I know people. I live in Kerrville, Texas, Sherry, and I've been out here about 8 years. I know people in this town that have never left the state of Texas or this area. And I'm the opposite of that. So this Daily Drew is a little subset of the Globe-Trotting Cowboy, which is my new show that I'll be doing full blown at some point. And it's a travel tourism show because I'm working on my resort in Mexico and in Roatan and everything else. So that's part of the reason I'm doing this. But I felt if I went out there as the chief connecting officer for the C-Suite Network, I meet people and I share with them all the assets, all the things that C-Suite can do for them. Is the largest business organization in the world. They vetted the folks that are members of that. And so in business, especially if you had never been, man, you don't know who you can trust and who you can't trust. So it's great to have. It's kind of like Angie's List. One of the things I love about Angie's List, you go in and they started when I was in the service business. That company had started, and I'd sold my service business, the last one in 1999. And Angie's List, I remember, and I actually looked at them for the things I did. It was a little bit different, but it was a good organization because they're highly vetted and curated people, and so they're going to be reputable, and the reputation gets risks if they mess with you. So anyway, in this, you know, can you go into business? Good fences make for good neighbors. Can you go into business with family and friends? And I will tell you, I have done both. Um, when when Sherry and I went bust and we did Shirley's Oaks, I did take a little bit of investment money, but not much. And I ended up losing everything. And so now, I've still got a couple of people that I'll pay out of that thing, but I spent money. I got sued. I had all kind of stuff happen. And the whole economy tanked. I didn't even realize it. I talked about it the other day, going bust and how bad it was, but I couldn't have known. I didn't with malice go in there and do anything. There are people that go out and raise money in businesses, and especially that raise a whole bunch of money and they buy themselves new cars and airplanes and houses and all this other stuff, and they don't invest. Let me tell you something. If you raise investors' money, the lion's share of that needs to go into the business. Folks, I brought in some money for Edison Coin, and I still haven't launched it. I'm planning to, and I've got family and friends in Edison Coin. And most of them understand I haven't abandoned the project. Okay, but given the cryptocurrency market what it's doing, and I'm working on incorporating Edison Coin into a game. The project is still alive, but a couple of the folks in that thing just got mad and everything else. And I said, listen, I'm carrying you forward. I don't know anybody that does that, really, very few. And I said, but the other thing is, I didn't go buy myself anything. I'd invested it all in the business, plus a bunch of my money. And so to go in and be mad at me as if I did something wrong, well, it's family and friends. Expectation is. And Sherry told me, she goes, Drew, people think there's no way you can lose. Because the other thing is, when you get your ass kicked, you just get back up and do it again. So if you're thinking about going into business, you're expanding a business or whatever, look, Elon Musk brought family and friends. Most people do because it's the trusted people close to you that'll do it. And anyway, it sometimes if you go into business or don't go into business, depends on whether or not you can get money from people that know you and like you and all that. But what you want to try to do is, folks, be as honest and forthright with them as you can. Tell them and show. I have learned, and actually Sherry and I talked about this because we were having a conversation doing what we're doing with Larry, talking about procrastination and waiting. He's military. He's a veteran with mesothelioma and all that. He's in high pain threshold, high pain all the time, 8 to 10, and they're working on it. They've got new treatments. But with Larry, we've really learned to be more attentive to his needs and the things that what he does, and then kind of watch him because he likes to be very, very independent. He won't ask for stuff. And as a result of that, if we're not paying attention, sometimes he's fallen and had a couple of things happen. We have to watch him. So, and the other thing is he gets off. He has to really plan a couple of days ahead of time so it doesn't throw his mind off as to what he has to do for a day. And I told Sherry, I said, sweetheart, I know that you put things off because you hate to have to face them. I've done that most of my life. But man, now I'll just go. I do the mea culpa and go right to the head of it. And I take anything on, whether it's a plan or an issue or a concern or whatever. I will typically go and I'll do the mea culpa and get right in front of it. And that way, people may not like it, but at least they're not angry because you've kept them forward. It's when you hide from them or you don't tell them, that's when people really get pissed off. So if they're family and friends, they get more pissed off. Their expectation is. And folks, you've heard me talk about ultimate consideration. You owe it to the people that are the closest to you. So you can get family and friends. You just want good fences make for good neighbors. You want a good framework as to what that needs to be, what the arrangement is. And then go ahead and have a contingency plan. In the event this doesn't work out, we may lose all of our money. Okay. And I don't know if we'll ever get it back. I may not get mine back. That's the other thing. If you're an inventor and you've taken other people's money, and no matter how much of your money you put in, they don't care. So you could put $1 million into something, they put 10 grand. All they care about is that 10 grand. Just know it going into it. But if you'll address it up front, and the other thing is get agreements. That's the good fences. Having an agreement, good understanding, have it papered up, because legally the only thing that is defensible is what's inside the 9 dots of that paper. Okay. And so lay out the plan, do your homework, give them the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I've gotten to risk mitigation. I mean, there's processes that you can use nowadays to go in and find out. And then statistically, just understand what carries more businesses forward than almost anything else is the love of the business. It's the energy of the entrepreneur. It's funny. I'm going to have Dino Soriano. He and I are going to be doing a show here. We'll start that thing up probably 60, 90 days out, just he and I. STFU. And that's what it means. Because he and I, when we're staying there, neither one of us can STFU. But anyway, I told Dino he's an entrepreneur like I am. And he said, let me tell you something. When you go to get into business with somebody, just expect to lose your money. And then if you make money, you're surprised. Set an expectation real low. Exceed it. They're going to love you. Folks, I'll be back here in 2 minutes with the Daily Drew. We're going to talk more about, should I get friends and family in business with me? All right, folks, welcome back to the Daily Drew. I'm Drew Taylor, and we are talking about good fences make good neighbors. Should you get family and friends involved in your business? Should you take investment from them to get in your business? And I've done both, and it's worked out well. And I've lost friends, and there's family that quit talking to me over money. I've learned in my life. I don't know about most of the rest of the world. I do more. Yeah. I spent quite a bit of time in Mexico and learning Roatan. Americans worship money by and large more than they worship God. God is their money is their God. And it disappoints me because it isn't mine. It's funny. I've told folks, I was homeless in Vegas, and in those 6-8 months I was living in my car, my smile never went away. The things that I went out there and did, nobody knew I was homeless. I didn't want them to know. I needed money. And obviously I didn't starve to get death. I came back a fat boy. But for me, it was pride. I didn't want anybody to know. And so I was close to the vest in it. And I went out there every day because I have, I told you, I think I told you earlier that my wife came up with a new word for me. She's an attorney. She's sharp as a tack. She's bringing me forward in trying to be a little bit smarter. But anyway, she comes up with this new word, and I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but the definition is a person who is overtly excited and happy and optimistic, regardless of what life has done to him, regardless of the horror that he's been through. And that is kind of me. And it isn't because it's just because I choose to be happy. Folks, I cannot. Every day when you get out of bed, you need to be running. Because whether you're the lion or the gazelle, if you're not running, you're in trouble. Because the lion's got to run to catch that gazelle or he doesn't eat. And that gazelle's got to be running or that lion's going to catch him and he's going to die. So that's every day in life. Get out there and be running. As long as you're doing that. The one thing, Baxter Coffee, I've talked about him before, a mentor of mine. Baxter told me, he said, you know what, Drew? He said, you have more energy and perseverance than anyone I've ever seen. The only, and I will agree with that because I can outwork my kids than anybody I've ever met. I say that. Jeffrey Hazlett, me and Trish have been with C-Suite. I tried running around with those folks. And I mean, it's just, I could have stayed up with them. Hell, I didn't want to. They work harder than I do. God bless them. But anyway, folks, Baxter told me, he said, you know, Drew, he said, you have been able to achieve the things that you have most just out of tenacity. You just won't give up. I've talked about it before. My favorite movie in the world is the one Rudy, about Rudy Rudiger, the guy, the football player that went up there and just out of sheer determination got to play in a football game for Notre Dame. And there's no way he ever should have been there. But it was his attitude and determination. That's what got him there. Anyway, so folks, you can get in business with family and friends, and especially if you make money and you're successful, everybody's always happy. When you lose money, nobody's happy. So expect that with family and friends. It just shines a light on it with your family and friends. So make sure there's a good understanding. Say, if we lose all this money, then are you going to hate me? And if they can't say no, I won't wait you. And if they won't take the pledge, because I've also had, and this probably hurts me more than anything, especially people that I have given the innermost part of me, and then there gets to be a little minimal understanding. Instead of coming to me like it says in the Bible, go to your friends, go to your family and have a conversation before you go to the public or go to someone else and badmouth them. Man, that's part of my loyalty pledge. If you ever have an issue with me, I'm not saying I can fix it, but at least let me know it before you talk about me. Don't talk about me without me, you know? And so this plays into this. And my wife has told me, Sherry's told me, she goes, Drew, the problem is you're just so compelling and you're so excited and you believe. And I do. There's not a single thing I've ever gotten in and done. Many that have not worked out and I've failed at. But every one of those, I 100% believed I'd be successful at it. And then when I'm not, but here's the difference. When I fail and I fail and I fail and I fail, I don't sit down and cry and die. I pivot. I do something else. I try something. I have not had a job since 1984. You know? So anyway, let's talk about some of those parameters, some of the things that you can do. Be sure that you work to be as forthright with the information. You're sensitive to their needs. Talk to them about the things that are the most important to them. Engage them in conversations. Sometimes I've gotten where I really do that. Hey, listen, I got this issue. What way do you think we ought to go? How should we work this out? Because people will support things they help create. If you've gone and made all the decisions on your own and they weren't involved at all in them, well, they don't have any responsibility in it. But if you engage them to a degree, and that's why, especially nowadays, I pick people to go in partners with that are familiar or have something to lend to the industry. The group that we formed, the Rotan Lux Group, to market Rotan for Scott Miller and all of his properties and everything we're doing Rotan in the Bay Islands. And Christine Cran and Geraldine Lopez and Bruce Whites, we all formed partners down there. But let me tell you, we go in and spent this time together and created the framework of this agreement. We understand what we're doing and how we're doing it. And we're all business people. and we're keeping each other in the loop on the conversations. And then when one person, like I had some stuff that I was working on to get done for our legal framework, and Christine calls me and she goes, Drew, how about this? And I can do this and I can do that. And so why don't we do that? We had that conversation 4 minutes yesterday, and then we go in and we're sharing everything openly, and it's the kind of stuff that I want to have work out. I have partnerships that have worked out like a dream. Okay, and typically when I get into a business, I'm passively involved in a few businesses, and I I lend my experience. I would say expertise, but I'm not really an expert at anything. But anyway, I lend all that I can of me to the business to try to help make it be successful if I'm going to get involved in it. Those expectations and stuff, they can go a long, long way to keep from losing family and keep from losing friends. You know, and I admit in my younger days, man, when things weren't going right, I don't like to share bad news. And so I'd just try to grind through it and change it, and then a couple of times when I just had to shut something down, I wasn't happy about it. When I lost the property out there, I mean, I lost everything and literally handed the keys over and walked away from it. And it's a hard, hard thing to do. Folks, I'll be back here in 2 minutes with the Daily Drew. And in this last segment, we're going to talk about a little bit more about how you can structure and do this thing and have family and friends involved in your business successfully. Daily Drew Taylor will be back here in 2 minutes. Howdy, folks. I'm Drew Taylor. I'm here with the Daily Drew, and this is segment 3 of my 5th show of the Daily Drew. Folks, I appreciate all of y'all that have tuned in and followed and everything else. This thing's building pretty quickly. I was talking to Dino Soriano, who will be on here Friday, and I said, listen, in doing what I'm doing, telling people, become a business of one in case AI and in case robotics take over most jobs. Create value, build that business, what I call my boo. It's actually a project that I'm working on. Build your boo, your business of who you are, your business of one. And if I'm going to preach that, then I ought to be able to do it, because every show I've ever done and every business I've had, somebody else built the website, somebody did the video, somebody edited it. I'm doing all this stuff, and so if it's sloppy and nasty right now, this is proven ground. I'll largely go out and push my broadcast and my show out to the market as I get this thing tightened up more. But I'm still learning. I will tell you, in this show right here, I recorded 2.5 segments right before this one. And all of a sudden it pops up and says, there was an error. I lost everything. So I'm re-recording it, but I'm learning it. With Bobby, he's sitting there watching that stuff, and he's going, oh, hang on, we got to redo this. I forgot this thing. So I didn't have to redo a whole show. But anyway, we are talking today about going into business, and can you go into business with family and friends and have it work out? And the answer to that is yes, you can. And I've had it work out, and I've had it where it didn't. And I hate it when it didn't, because I don't like to have anybody that doesn't like me. It's part of the problem I have. And I piss off a lot of people. I was over there doing my Tai Chi this morning. I'm training businesses in Tai Chi to get their employees to come in. And Hannah's Nails in Kerrville, y'all may have seen this the other day. I'm over there. I'm doing this week with them doing my Tai Chi. And so one of the guys over there, he said something to me and kind of smarted off to me. And I just told him, I said, did you read that magazine article about me? And he goes, no. And I said, you're not worth my time. And he looks at me and he was taking me. I said, so here I am, and you're smarting off to me about something, and you don't really know who I am. And I gave you that magazine to read because you'd asked a few questions, but you want to take the time to ask it, and you want to come in and you want to be a heckler. I said, why don't you go do something productive, buddy? Anyway, afterwards he comes over there and he goes, are you mad at me? You're right. I said, no, I'm not mad. I don't let people make me mad. If something's going in that direction, I have learned in my life, I'll just turn around, pick up my toys, and walk away. I have no problem with that. Because in my mind, in my head, I have to live on positive energy. I have to. If I take the time to worry, to slow down, and to turn around and look behind me, that I'm the gazelle. That lion may get me. I can't. It's positive energy all the way, and I've outrun life doing it. Okay, so here's a few things, folks. Make the loyalty pledge, modify it if you want to, but I have to tell you, because if people go and they read that, and there are people that will just flat ass tell me, they say, I'd never do that, I'd never make that commitment, and don't. If you don't feel like it, if you can't do it, don't do it. But the people in my inner circle, those that I do business with and everything, I want them to be of like mind. And the thing about entrepreneurs and business people, most of them are pretty aligned in how they see things, especially if they've got a few wounds. And most of them do. So listen to this, the loyalty pledge and why it matters. But first, let's qualify your partners. Okay. Share the modern standard, values over hype, fruit over promises. This is what I was talking about. Man, set your expectations and all that stuff. Set them so that they're reasonable. If you outperform them, that's phenomenal. Tell somebody you're going to be there at 10 o'clock. Get there at 9:30, they're happy. Get there at 10:02, they're pissed off. Right? Anyway, fruit over promises, loyalty over charisma. Yes, loyalty over charisma, integrity over enthusiasm. Any of y'all that know me, these are things that I've had to go and back up a little bit and be more measured in the things that I do and talk about. Okay. Now you can look for honesty under pressure, follow through, courage to tell the truth. Courage to tell the truth. Alignment in mission, ethics, and loyalty. Okay. So, what this loyalty pledge does and why it matters, it protects the relationships, prevents assumption and betrayal, sets expectations up front, filters out opportunists, the people that want a quick hit and want to jump in and jump out, which is not a good partner anyway, right? Okay. Strengthens real relationships. Loyalty isn't control, loyalty's clarity. So think about that. Okay. Now, in this, folks, you can go, if you have great expectations, make sure you have a great agreement between you. Handshake is fine as you're getting the business going, but it's what Christine and I were talking about. We're fixing to start moving money through a company, and money changes people. I mentioned I had two good partners where the business did phenomenal and they were equal partners with me. And so I had buy-sell agreements in those, which is an instrument you got to have. And basically what that does, a buy-sell agreement is like King Solomon. When Jason and Josh were little, Jason's the older brother. So anytime if they had a cookie and they were sharing a cookie, Jason would break it in half and then he'd give Josh that little quarter. And Josh is littler. He didn't even complain about it. And I realized that, I understand why he's doing it. That's kind of human nature. But when I changed the deal, that Jason would be the one to cut it in half and Josh got to pick first. King Solomon, right? Josh got to pick first. You wouldn't believe, I bet you Jason became the best haver on the planet. He wanted to make sure he got all his. Anyway, so folks, just good fences make for good neighbors, have good agreements and all that stuff. Now let's talk for a few minutes about Dino and then a couple other things. So Dino is a guy, and I met him on this cruise where I met Scott. And you're going to love this guy. He's a dynamo. He and I sat down and talked for 30 minutes at a dinner with a dozen other people at the table. And people just kind of let us talk. And we're talking next to each other and they're across the table and all. Finally, a guy from across the table, he looks at us. He says, do you guys ever shut the F up? We looked at each other. I said, we ought to do a show. Let's go. And Dino goes, yeah, let's call it STFU. And so anyway, you're going to love Dino. So he's a man of integrity. Servant leadership, an innovative heart, loyalty in action. Okay. And Dino and we've had some little things here and there we've talked through. We just got to work through them. And I love him. He's an entrepreneur. You can tell an entrepreneur versus just an investor or somebody else, a layperson that doesn't really understand business. But anyway, we'll be talking entrepreneurship, talking about our innovation incubator. So we're going to introduce Dino, talk about things. We're going to talk about entrepreneurs. That's segment 2. And then we're going to talk about the innovation incubator. That'll be on Friday. You want to catch that. So folks, let me tell you something. The lesson business has taught me and what I want to share with you If you don't build the fences to keep the neighbors out. You build them so that the right people know where the gate is and how to come in. Think about how this looks. Partnerships don't require perfection, but they absolutely require alignment, truth, and loyalty. I had a buddy of mine when he was questioning me about Edison Coin. He goes, "What'd you do with that money?" And I said, "I can show you where every penny went, including every one of mine." But none of that was going to matter. He's just not a good investor, you know? So, anyway, here's the challenge for you, folks. If you're in a partnership, ask yourself, are our values aligned? Think about it. When I was in the two partnerships that I had to exercise buy sells for both of them, and not for anything that I did, but what my partners did. Thank heavens we had those buy sell agreements, because if we had no, those are the pissing matches that people get into that cost them their business typically. Okay. If you're considering a new partnership, slow down, ask the hard questions, build the fence before the storm. Loyalty is not what people say when things are good. Loyalty is who remains when things are bad. It's key, and you want them. And if they're good people, they'll be there. They'll help you. They'll do whatever they can. Because when you all win together, you all celebrate together. Folks, I'm Drew Taylor with the Daily Drew. I appreciate y'all tuning in more than you know. I'll see you again here tomorrow. Have a blessed day.